living proof. It's pretty safe to say. God give it, God take it away. It's the worldwide American way.
What's going on, team? Proof here, and today I'm coming at you with my finals breakdown of the finals of ARG Nationals. And I wanted to do it tonight because my wife is currently out, so it gave me time to really dig into it, and then that way when she's back home I can spend more time with her. And it's a game between me and Michael. I forgot to get his last name, I apologize for that. And the reason I'm wearing these is because I'm actually just like my second time trying to record this, and I realized partway through that I was being drowned out by the background sound and by the sound being played through my speakers. So, amateur mistake. So we're starting it fresh. I got a little bit of practice, got a little more seasoning, got a little more salt, a little pepper on me. So now I'm ready to give you guys the quality footage that I feel I can bring to you. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just go through the games. I'm gonna try to keep this brief and talk through things as succinctly as I can. Just give you guys what my thought processes are and the way things went and how I could have did things better along the way. So we got an hour and 15 minutes here, minus or plus me rambling. So hope you guys got some snacks, got some popcorn, got some drinks. I should have got myself some water. It's warm up here. Let's go ahead and hop into it. So with me being the higher seed coming out of Swiss, I had the option of going first or choosing to go first or second, and I had limited knowledge coming into this because this is only my third time playing against OTT Gyze. One of which was against Michael here in Swiss, another time against Sarah as my first round opponent, and I kind of got the feel that me going first was better because my 10k base means I don't need to use cards to guard because he only has 9Ks and 7Ks and whatnot. So I felt it was better to try to preserve my hand that way and go first instead of trying to keep myself at 0. My game plan was to keep myself at 0. That way, if he got to Gyze, I would have 2 more turns to live, or 2 more turns of living before I died, and get myself a chance to squeeze through that door. So going first meant that I was able to abuse my 10k base and my higher base power being the Force Clan against his cards, and just save those cards and try to put on more aggression as possible. So like here, for instance, I can just no pass and take no damage, and even though spikes can't really do much besides play vanilla without any damage, I thought it was a better game plan than trying to take damage and then try to force myself to win before Gyze. This way it kind of gave me more of a flexible option. But at the same time, I came to the tournament with no experience against Gyze decks with my version of the deck here. So I was learning it as I went, and playing the handful of games I played throughout Swiss isn't really enough to give myself a good footing on how to best approach it. So I just went in with what I felt was best at the time. And what I felt was best was doing what I'm doing here, which is try to be as aggressive as possible before they're on Gyze to press the issue and not worry as much about their triggers, because if I give them time to breathe, then it gives them more time to hit the triggers. So the OTT Gyze deck is scary consistent just because there's so much ways to filter and to put cards on top of your deck. It's disgusting. Flips itchy, and here I pondered long and hard if I wanted to take this attack and go to 1 damage, because 1 damage meant that I could use Agrius, but being at 1 damage also meant that if he got to Gyze, I was assuredly going to die because I was always going to stay ahead on damage on him, unless I somehow healed on the 5 check, because I doubt I'd put him at 5 before he was on Gyze. unless he took it preemptively anyway, which would be kind of dicey on his own side. So I thought long and hard if I wanted to stay at 0 damage because I had success staying at 0 coming up to this point. But I also thought about taking it because I knew getting Agrius live before Gyze would have been a nice push to have. And I thought about going Gyze here as well, just to put stuff back to the deck, which honestly probably would have been a better move in my opinion. That way, because I could have used Gyze to put 3 cards back for my soul, which I wasn't gonna be using on my own skills outside of maybe Panther. So I could have stacked my deck up for the future. Oh, double trigger. And what you're about to see here is my biggest misplay for this round here. Pause it here. I totally should not have put this force marker here. I should have put it over here. In the games that I had success coming up to this point, outside of my first round game against Sarah, I doubled up on force markers on one circle and used that to beat over top of his pre-Gyze Vanguard and after he got to Gyze. But I guess that heal threw me off to where I felt that I didn't have enough time, and he was already at 3 bound in the G zone, or bound zeros. Excuse me. To where I felt that my clock was ticking to where I couldn't afford to go double up on the 4 circles here, and I tried to press the issue by having a Bracky that could swing for 30 and then have the bouncer here swing for 28. And looking back on it, I definitely don't agree with that because I still had at least probably 2 or 3 turns, unless he just popped off on triggers here. So I could have had a 20k Bracky on the left and then a 30k bouncer on the right, and then stacking up that 4 circle would have come in so much handier in the future turns, just to have one big side to keep pressuring him. So I knew he stacked the trigger there, but I don't think it was worth it to not attack him, just because he may not hit a trigger on his follow-up turn or something like that. And it still would have put, I feel like it would just put me on the back foot not having those 3 extra cards in my hand. Maybe I feel like that might be the wrong play, but as I mentioned before, this is only I think this is my 5th game against Gyze, so I'm still just trying to gain a comfort level for it, because the deck is really good and it's good enough to where I feel like it's going to see continuous play in premium for the foreseeable future, because it's consistent, it's defensive, and then you have a solid win condition in Gyze to where and you have the protect gifts coming up from your OTT side, so it has all the recipes to be a contender that's going to be seeing play for a while. And then he goes into, I think her name is I call her Waka just because I can't pronounce, Waka Hirame I think it is, just to stack that heal that's in his hand that I know he has back into on top, so he can get a free heal off basically. Disgusting. Hate that card. So I'll block 38 or 28 because that's just easy no pass. And then that gives him his 5th dragon, his 0th dragon. And then he gets a PG on top of that. This game just went downhill really fast, especially after I feel like the game was more out of my control it was totally in my control because I chose to put the force marker where it was. And I feel that would have definitely put me in a better foot in going forward into the game. But now going to Marindal here, and if I had tweaked my lineup to what I think it should be now, I could have gone into Marindal to flip, and then I had the G guard, and then I could have went into Supernova to flip again. That put me to 5. So I would just needed one more G guard to go into Hellheart 8, which would have made him question attacking. And with the OTT Gyze deck being likely popular into the future, I'd have an idea of how I'm going to build my G zone, which is going to include both Marindal and Supernova going into the future, and cutting out things I don't think it needs as much anymore. Look, the old holdovers from the previous era. This man had so many cards in his hand by this point in the game. I was terrified. I wish I could download this and play it in like 1.5, 2 times speed, but it's on Facebook, so that part's out of my control. So he PG's Marindal easy. That reminds me of my last turn when I did that wonky Agrius sequence, just because I was just rattled, forgot that I didn't have a counterblast to use. Ugh, hurts. that was painful. That one hurt. That one hurt the most. So definitely have to block all of these. And here I was pondering if I wanted to again take it and get a full Agrius turn, or if I wanted to G guard, because then I could have accelerated my G count by a little bit. So I G guard into Gyze here, or sorry, yeah, G guard into Gyze. Did I put anything back? No, I went. That's Linus. My bad there. Just that Linus from here looked like Supernova, so I got really confused. Knowing I didn't have Supernova in my deck. And if you guys hadn't seen my deck profile, definitely give that a look. It's the previous video before this one. And he was pondering attacking here to try and play around my lab if I had another G guard in my hand, because he didn't want to stare down Hellheart 8 unless he felt ready to. But little did he know, my hand was butt cheeks. I had to 3-card guard this with 3 2K or 3 grade 2s. Hand was suffering. I kept the safe read in my hand just in case I came into. I realized my mistake that I should have had double force markers, because then I could have had a better one-side attack. And I held on to the safe read just in case I came into another form of stride fodder the previous turn, because I expected to live his Gyze +5. The sad fact that thing wasn't gonna hit. Yeah, well, nah, 18, 28. Yeah, it needed 2 triggers to hit. That's how sad that 1 force marker is against Gyze. That's all he needed was a 5K. That's insane. So, I just misplayed all the way around. And yeah, here's where the 5K from the stand triggers, the Mecha Instructors, kind of were a detriment. Just because I hit 2 of them and I was at 23, which was still enough for all 3 of his attacks to hit me. So I had to block this with 10K to stop it. And I had a lot of pieces. I had a lot of Hellheart 8 pieces just chilling in the drop zone. Instead of using that heal there, I should have Gaced once more and put cards back to the deck. That was another bonehead play on my part. My man's had 16 cards in his hand, 3 damage, and Gyze. There was very slim chances I was going to break through with Hellheart here. But I say we watch it and see what I could have. I'm going to talk about what things I could have done if I had better planned ahead here. Like if I'd used Gase there, I could have put back a Juggernaut, a Panther, and a Wonder Boy, which would have been 3 decently strong units, especially if I had doubled up 4 circles. I'm gonna keep talking about that misplay just because of how big it was here, and over the course of the game, having that double up 4 circle over here would have been such a big difference. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna call out this Bouncer here, and Bouncer is really important for Hellheart 8 sequence because of the doubled up skills it has. Both facilitate Hellheart 8 working, and it works best if you have at least 3 counterblasts in some form or fashion. And the reason for that is because you can use 1 counterblast on Spite Bouncer to call another unit, and then you could use another counterblast to put it to soul after it attacked, and you can double up on the Hellheart skill, so you can give Hellheart power to Bouncer, and at the end of the battle, use Bouncer to counterblast 1 to put it to soul and draw. That way, you get the benefit of attacking with the power, and you get the draw back to your hand for it. So you can't split it up in the fact that you can put 1 to draw and then still resolve Hellheart, because the cost is to put the card to the soul. Excuse me. You can't double dip that way, but you can get a card back to your hand to then later put to the soul to keep your Hellheart chain going. And then you can use your 3rd counterblast, should you have it, on using Spite Bouncer once more to call another unit out. But missing it on the double force circle here was such a big thing, because then I could have just kept committing cards on that one side. Especially because I hit a draw trigger here. It took me to 6 cards in my hand. I don't know if 6 cards would have been enough to hit over Gyze's body, but every little bit helps. Or 7 cards in this case, because Spite Bouncer being a thing. Like, even if I had a raw Spite Bouncer out there, I still could have called it to the non-force side, use his skill, call a card to a double force side, attack with Hellheart, give the boost to Spite Bouncer. Spite Bouncer would have been 20k at the time, and then he could have attacked on his own for 30k, forced at least a card out of his hand. Then I could have counterblast 1 to put it to the soul and draw and get back to 7, and then I would have had 7 cards to use on a double force circle. So it was just a sad state of affairs all around, where I feel like my misplay was the bigger thing that went wrong for me in this game, because triggers happen. He could have easily low rolled triggers, and he probably still could have overcome because I split my 4 circles up. So that was my biggest misplay in this game, in my opinion. And pretty much what's going to happen throughout the rest of this is I'm going to keep churning through my deck until the point to where I have nothing left and he takes no damage, because his hand is so fat and Gyze is such a fat body. So I don't think it's worth it to look through the rest of this game here. I'm just going to go ahead and go on to game 2 and save us a little bit of time. Alright, back with game 2. And I chose to go first again, and using the knowledge that I've assured myself that I know the right things to do going into this game. And as always, I have a higher base power, so I'm not going to take the damage from his his early turns. I attack Vanguard, not worrying about having a. Since I play more crits than stands, I figured if I waste a stand early, that's fine. And he gets a heal out the way. He gets a bind for it, but I still get a heal out of it. But that draw trigger hurt. That hurt a lot. I was nervous here that I thought that I was already behind the 8 ball. But you can always, like, just the way with triggers work, you can see one early and then not see any more the rest of the time or something like that.
bottom, she gets +2.
So knowing that he left it on top, I can't remember exactly what I did here, but I feel like I had better just gone at rear guards and passed. That's what I would do now. I would go Panther into rear guard, safe read into rear guard, and then pass turn. Not sure exactly why I committed this Panther. I feel like I was like, screw it. If you got the trigger, you got it. I just wanted to keep putting pressure on him pre-Gyze. I wonder if that's still the better play though. Knowing that he has the trigger. Because it may not be a trigger is also a thing, because he may be trying to get a particular draw or something. So by this time, he already has four bound, and if he hit the roll there, then I would have been sunk. Probably been better to go at rear guard, but I feel like sometimes you got to take those risks. I don't know if it was worth it or not, but I put him at 4 damage. So many triggers. So he has all 5 bound. I know that Gyze is coming down, but I also know that I have a turn before that, and learn from my mistakes. Don't let the pass repeat itself. Doubled up on that force immediately. Because his hand before Gyze is pretty much the PG, the G guard that he may or may not have, and then a fistful of 5Ks, and maybe a couple man, there could be the grade 1 piece, the grade 1 15K shield. I went with that side first just in case I hit a stand trigger. And getting him to use the protect gift so soon meant he didn't have it for Gyze, which was major. I was definitely hoping to hit a critical there. Here, I was debating if I wanted to do the +15 or the +5. So even now, I still had 2 turns to work with, because he has his Gyze turn, which he needs to protect himself for, or I need to protect myself, and then I have another stride turn with Panthers, and then he deals me damage, and then I have aggregates to follow up after that. So I had 2 more turns to abuse with this double 4 circle with Panther, and that was my goal going into this. This is why I remained at 0 damage. And he also probably had a fear of me having G guards in my hand for Hell Hard 8. And then there was also the idea, he may have had the idea of not attacking, just to lock me out of using Hell Hard 8. But then he would have been out a few cards in his hand, which I feel like that's what he was counting right here. Was wondering if he could survive my turn without attacking. The reason I did that is because if I stride on my turn, I go to 5 because I already used my flip G guard. But if I drive check into a heal trigger, he's either probably gonna pass turn, and not attack, or he's gonna attack into it and give me the last piece for Hellheart 8. So I was playing to my outs of getting that last heal into my hand. And here, if I remember correctly, I was pondering Raiden and then putting where to put the force marker at, and figuring out what to do with the rest of my hand, because my soul was low, because just abusing Panther left my soul really low, so I had one soul to work with. So I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit. Oh, nope, action. What are we doing here? Right again. Trying to figure out where to put the force gift. Triple stack. Triple stacker. What's that? That's a Wendy's burger? It's gonna be. Let's try with 2 cards, because that's what I was mainly debating, if I wanted to ride again and strive with 2 cards, or not, or strive with 1 card and keep the booster, and then just vanilla Picaro because I had nothing else better to use. I wish Spikes had a better stride that didn't need to use Counter Blast to function. Like I feel like that's the biggest hole, because Supernova isn't enough. He's not strong enough in my opinion. So I was pretty much looking to put back anything really. Probably should put back a power unit though. And I put the instructor there because it makes 32 with the.
If it returns back to the deck, I can buy one of my units and call it back out. But charge doesn't work unless I call it from the skill. Oh, okay. So this is 32 to your vanguard.
I put it back there just to force 32. That way he has to commit just a little bit more, and those incremental cards mean so much. Like that 50 is a 2 to pass now. Just debating power right here. I think that was the right call, put it over there. Just because the other side was already big without it. I went with +5 so I can keep him around just for one more turn.
I'll take 5. Right? Yeah, take 5. Sorry. First, second, third, plus 10, fourth, fifth.
I wish I'd hit another trigger there. But I put him in a position where if he attacked, I could go into Hellheart 8. And that's not what he wanted to see at all, especially with triple stack force circles. And here he was again probably debating if he had enough guard to live without attacking. Because now I have Agrius ready to roll. And thank the good Lord, excuse me, thank the good Lord about the Mecha Instructor, because that dude came in supremely clutch. And one thing I forgot to mention, my last turn call was so risky because my hand was a fistful of triggers and 2 grade 1s. If I drew a non-grade 1 here, I could not stride. I just remembered that. And so I was in a position where I needed to top deck a non-grade 1. And I'm about to stride with 3 cards here because I drew a Gary Gannon, and I remember that very distinctly. Because there was 2 Wonder Boys and a Gary Gannon that I used to stride here. My boy, Mr. Gannon coming through. Nine cards, but he couldn't G-guard. And I had exactly one Wonder Boy left, and that's all I needed right here. Because I needed that one soul.
This skill.
I did put a Wonder Boy back. I told him that was totally a mistake there on my part. I blanked. So that was a total brain fart on my part. I didn't mean to put that back because I know I need to put a non-grade 1 back. So my apologies there. Call that there. Call Maryland there because she's sure wasn't about to be used next turn. And here I was thinking about how I wanted to attack. $45, and then the Panther on the opposite side here. 10. This is 13, but that extra soul let me get off the plus 15k, which makes this 38. And then I wait. I thought about it too. I thought about attacking here. Not a lot of thinking went on here. If I wanted to attack with the soul, or if I wanted to go straight into Agrius or not.
Soul Blast. Plus 15. So this is 25 plus 13, 38 Vanguard. Is that 40? Yeah. Alright. After the battles, I use the skill, he goes to the soul. One pass. First check. Second check. All effects.
Whew. Game 3. So squeak through just by using just the incremental cards just to get over.
It's like I can't attack her.
I like attacking. I like do it, swing at me.
So I'm gonna fast forward to game 3 now. Game 3, he chose to go first. And going first again, or them going first, is not a position I'm familiar with. So I tried to play it differently. Or no, it is vaguely familiar just because I happened against Mike early. And him putting that Coco in front was a big mistake. Because I immediately swung at it. And then he put the other one back there. But that was such a huge swing in my favor there. That helped out so much. And the reason I attacked the Coco is because I knew it was a trigger there. At least that's why I felt that was there. And here I was debating if I wanted to take the damage or not, or play the same game I have been up to this point. And this is just not a position that I'm most comfortable in, is them being on the aggressive side. So using up resources to protect myself. Can't remember what I drew here. I definitely kept that heal in my hand though with the putback. I think I put back a crit. Nah, I don't know what I put back. So him going to his grade 3 step with just one card bound is pretty big in my opinion. and I was doing everything I could to keep myself at no damage while keeping that heal in my hand, because I knew how paramount that it would be to have it available. That +6 was a pain in the butt, because I definitely didn't want to use any more cards in my hand. But him only having 2 cards bound, I believe I took it. I believe I took it because he only had 2 cards bound at the time, because then I was on a slower clock to feel like I could have used that one counterblast judiciously. That's why I was thinking so hard right here. I was debating if I wanted to put it on Bracky's side or on the opposite side, just because Bracky was gonna get power anyway. And I went Marindal here because I wanted to save that counterblast, because I only get 1 against the Gyze matchup. At least especially now in this case, unless I heal or something. But I only have like the 1 usage of it, so I need to be careful with how I use it. So he also had he didn't G-guard, so he couldn't go into Wakahirame. So use Ichi to draw, and then he's probably gonna attack, and then I very strongly G-guard it here. Seeing if there was anything else in the soul I wanted to put back, which I didn't, because then I figured probably have the stride fodder just in case I top deck it. It hurt me suck my teeth there. That heal was painful. I was looking to see if Gyze counterblasted too, even though up to this point he's used 0 counterblast for it. I just never thought about it to look at it till now. And here, I know exactly. I was debating if I wanted to go into Agrius and use the draw. And try to put as much pressure on him before he got it to his Gyze turn. Because I knew the clock was running out. I was pondering if I wanted to ride or not. And then I was pondering where to put the force marker at. So he was at 4 units face up, and I figured it was worth the risk to attack his Vanguard, because if he hit the trigger, he got it. If not, then I was prepared for that. And I figured he was afraid of criticals, even with the double protect marker. I feel like he wanted to put himself in a position where he didn't need to use both his protect markers. And I was just thinking if I really wanted to use that counter blast at this moment or not. Because if I attacked him and he took it and he hit a trigger, he could go right into his to Gyze. I think he just wanted to really play around me checking critical triggers. And since I put him to no damage, I didn't want to risk the trigger here, so I went an attack at Red Girl. I forget her name. And giving him no counter blast meant he couldn't use Waka Hirame for her skill, which is what I wanted to lock him out of. And him going into her like gave me a huge sigh of relief, because he didn't know that I drew the heal on my turn. So if he had gone into Ichikashima, I would not have been able to use my G guard, but he also didn't know about it, so he didn't think to go into her. So now I had Hellheart 8 enabled. And I counted the cards in my deck, or not my deck, in my drop zone, and looked at them, and I chose not to use Bracky's search skill because I thought I might need it in my deck just to try to play around random failure by checking all my power units, just in case like something bad happened. I went like Juggernaut, Panther, or something like that, which are my 3 biggest hitters. If I had done something like that, I wanted to keep a Bracky around for the future. So I just wanted to make sure I sequenced my stuff correctly. And I did it this way because I wanted to get my last Mecha Instructor out of the deck before I triple drove, because I knew it would be important to keep it around for the double Panther play. So those were really good checks, not only because they were criticals, but because they weren't power units. So this Panther is large. So this works similarly like the Instructor combo. I can give it the plus 15 for Hellheart, and then I can resolve Hellheart to put it to the soul and call something else out. So I got 6 cards left, and I just got his biggest guards out of his hand. I was just counting units for sequencing purposes. Maximum with the flex. That heal scared me so much. Just getting nervous just watching it back. So now I started just to chain Panthers together because I knew I had a few left. Let's see, 15, 35, yeah, 55. So I had 2 more attacks left, and I'm pretty certain that was his last big shield power there. Granted, I feel like I should have just chained Juggernauts till they were all gone, and then went into Panther. So I feel like I missequenced that. So I think he topped out at 52 shield with his G guard plus what was left in his hand. I was so afraid that he would reveal a heal on top with the old girl. I was so nervous by this point. I was like, just take it. I was like, take it and don't heal. Take it and don't heal. That's what I kept saying to myself. I was ready for it to be over one way or the other. Cause I was like on pins and needles the whole time.
Draw one, real top card. If it's grade 2 or higher, sorry, I think it's grade 1. Yeah, grade 1 or greater, she gets 5.
I was hoping he drew the heal there, or not revealed it.
32, 47, 5, 40, 30, 47.
Whew. And the video froze right at that moment. I think it's over. His next card after that was the heal. So he was one card off, and I had one card left in my hand for one last attack. So it was like very literally down to the last card. So that's struggling right there, struggle busting. So a better, more succinct spot. So that was such a close game that I'm sweating here because it's hot, but I put myself in the best position that I felt I could and tried to take as much advantage of my opponent's deck knowledge as I could, just to put myself in that position to be ready for whatever he could throw at me. And the Gyze deck is such a hard deck to play against that I'm still not exactly sure how to approach it, like when to commit stuff, when to not commit stuff. But you kind of just have to navigate it through and put them in a position to where if they get to Gyze, you can still finish them off, or put them in a position to where they need to attack you to get to Gyze and not feel comfortable just playing pass go with you. And yeah, that's really about it. But it was a fire series. I misplayed game 1. Game 2 was pretty clean. He misplayed a couple times in game 3, once by leaving the circle magus in the front row for me to attack it, and then since he didn't go Ichikashima, he left himself in a position to where I could G guard effectively. So he didn't get rid of my Panther that he wanted to get rid of, and B, he let me Linus him to get to Hellhard 8. If he didn't do either of those things, he probably very certainly would have claimed the win, because he would have gotten to Gyze, and then he had the heal triggers coming up, which would have put him further back on damage, and I probably would not have been able to bounce back from that. But very tight game, very well played by Michael, and scary deck, and yeah, that'll about do it. So I hope you made it this far through this whole thing, and I hope you enjoyed. And that'll do it for this one. And until next time, peace. Be easy.